Obviously, last night, gents, wasn't a good night for Arsenal, losing 1-0. They did get beat by the better team on the night. I think most people would agree how good PSG are as a side. What was your take on the performances, Hassan? What did you make of it from Arsenal?
I think Arsenal were... I think the same thing that I said in the Liverpool PSG game, I would say for yesterday's game. I think Enrique just straight up just outcoached Arteta. I think Enrique has been the best coach. I'm talking tactically, just pure tactics before people start screaming. Since the knockout stage began, the guy who has coached his team the best has been Luis Enrique. I think tactically on the football pitch, he has masterminded Slot, he has masterminded Unai Emery, and he has masterminded Arteta yesterday. I get it that Martinelli had like one chance and, Trossard had one chance. But I could say the same thing, Barcola had a chance, Goncalo Ramos had a chance, etc. Maybe had PSG been a bit more clinical, it would have been a different game. But I think Enrique has been absolutely the best coach, just strictly coach in Europe this season. I think the way that they started that game, and this is one of the debates. Me and Terry will never agree on this, and it's okay to agree to disagree. But one of the reasons why I say, the Champions League is the most difficult competition to win, the most, etc., is because of moments like yesterday. It was legit like one real error of marking and you're 1-0 down in a semi-final. Like, it's not even a joke. Like, this whole competition, bro, one mistake and you're screwed. You're literally screwed because of one mistake. And it happened yesterday. I thought Dembele's finish was amazing, but then for the rest of the game, Dembele didn't really do much, if we're talking about the rest of the game. Desire Doué got past people, but I was getting frustrated with him because he didn't really have any end product. I thought Kvaratskhelia tore Timber a new one. Listen, this is not over yet. Arsenal still have a chance. And I have an announcement for the Football Terrace community. My blue blazer is right here. I'm going to be accepting bids. I'm going to be a corrupt government official. I am willing to wear the blazer and say Arsenal have a 0% chance. That's all I'm saying, guys. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to be a corrupt government official. And we will discuss proceedings later on. But I really think that Arsenal have a chance. All you have to do is just go to Paris and win 1-0 and take it to extra time. Liverpool did that, right? Now you've got your whole team fit. You ain't got no injuries. The one thing I will say, though, Terry, is, look, we can be balanced. One thing about football content that has absolutely ruined it is black and white approaches to everything. I do think certain things are black and white. If I ask you who's the best player in the league this season, it's black and white. Mo Salah, easy, no problem. But like for this Arsenal conversation, there is a gray area for the game yesterday. I understand that Thomas Partey being out is obviously not helpful to Arsenal's case. But can we not use it as the only sole excuse? Like, that's the thing that just pisses me off. Can we have objective conversations? I heard what Igal said yesterday. Igal is right. I don't think you can come up here and go like, oh, the reason why Arsenal didn't beat PSG is the mentality. Because if it's mentality, then you would have crumbled against Madrid. So don't just use the same buzzwords for everything. Like, oh, mentality this, blah, 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 this. Like, use different... There are different ways to analyze football games. Not every time Arsenal lose, it's because of mentality. No. Enrique just outcoached Slot. Guess what? Arne Slot just won me a league title, number 20. I said Enrique outcoached him, and I said Eddie Howe outcoached him. It's okay. It's okay to say stuff like this. Arsenal had chances they should have scored. PSG had chances they could have scored. I don't think Arsenal were robbed. You could say Arsenal were a bit more fortunate because of the Timber penalty. Could have been 2-0 down. Some people saying it's a penalty. Me personally, same energy. I don't think the Moreno one is a penalty. I don't think the Timber one is a penalty. I think both are not penalties. I think both are soft for the occasion. However, all is not lost. Because there's one thing that UEFA did that I agree with. Scrapping the away goals rule. Now, if Arsenal even win 2-1 in Paris, they're going to extra time. It's no longer, oh yeah, we scored a goal, blah, 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 and we scored a goal, blah, blah, blah. The away goals rule is now gone, which is something good for Arsenal. So I don't think it's done yet. That's all I'm saying.
There are a couple of points I wanted to touch on in this game.
My
one
water.
of them is Sam talking about mentality. The number one thing is that is the
don't lie on my name before I go. I said it's not.
That is the difference. I disagree with that. That is the difference between a team that has two wingers that can absolutely play football, which is Desiree Doué and Kvaratskhelia yesterday, versus a team that has one winger. We saw it for Liverpool when they had only Salah. So it was easy to shut him down. Yesterday, Saka didn't have a good game. It was so easy to shut him down by doubling on him or Nuno Mendes having a good game. Yesterday, Kvaratskhelia got the better out of Timber in the beginning, but also Desiree Doué was having a good game. Right, but when it didn't work for Kvaratskhelia after like 30 minutes, he had the privilege to switch Kvaratskhelia with Desiree Doué because he knows he can trust both wingers. For Arsenal, Arteta is so rigid, and Arsenal left winger is not good enough to rely on him. So that is the difference between having players that can play multiple roles. Also yesterday, we saw João Neves, we saw Fabian Ruiz, we saw Vitinha. The three of them can drop deep and play the deep line playmaker. For Arsenal, no one can. And Odegaard was anonymous for the game. He was absolutely rubbish during this game. He completed as many passes as Bukayo Saka in this game, which is absolutely rubbish. So for me, tactically, it's not only that Arteta was out tactic. I think Luis Enrique used his tools much, much better than Mikel Arteta. The second point is that yesterday's game, after the game, I saw the agendas of people that just want to run agendas without actually analyzing football matches. Like people, for example, that blame Declan Rice for the goal, where I explained myself and I said that Declan Rice is tasked to go and cover Timber if he's isolated and Saka's not back. It was Odegaard and Moreno who were too slow and too late to come back on the transition when Dembele picked up the ball. That is why outside the area or right at the area line, it was free. That was what Martin Odegaard and Moreno. Declan Rice was right to go and cover Timber on the right side because we saw Kvaratskhelia dribble past Timber after this was these clearly instructions. So the people that were on agenda against Declan Rice, they come out and say it was Declan Rice's fault. That is just agenda driven. You don't know about the football that the defensive midfielder need to cover. Rodri does it all the time. Going and covering the fullback is something that is his duty as well. The third thing that I want to say about Arsenal is that Mikel Arteta's mentality in this game was absolutely garbage. Because we saw from the first minute, Arsenal, they were a little bit complacent. Arsenal, from the first minute, they were arrogant a little bit. The running was not there. The energy was not there. We saw Dembele, we saw Kvaratskhelia, we saw Fabian Ruiz, Desiree Doué press like without any hesitation from the minute one. They were ruthless in terms of their press. They were relentless in terms of the press. And Arsenal were so complacent. They were slow. They didn't know. It's not only tactical, it is also the mentality. Again, one of the things that me and Osam, we do a show with Jess, and Jess said something, said that this team sometimes show character when there is no other option but winning. Against Real Madrid, everyone said that you must win to have a chance. Against PSG, everyone said, even if you get a draw, you still can go to Paris and win. Liverpool did it. You can rely on your defense. So the team go into the game knowing that a draw is an option. And it showed yesterday. Minute 1 to minute 30, Arsenal were out. Like the energy was different. The press was not there. The players were cooked. Some of the players, Timber for the first 10 minutes, bro, he was cooked versus Kvaratskhelia. Kvaratskhelia got the better out of him, to be honest. And that is the preparation by Mikel Arteta. The mentality was wrong. Also, there is no point of doing the video before. I know that a lot of clubs do it and everything. The fans were flat. And people that were in the stadium said that the fans were flat. And Arteta prepared the team completely wrong. It's not only about the tactics. I agree with Osam. The tactics were wrong. But also you can compensate for it if you have good energy. The energy for the first 30 minutes. What was that? At your own ground. You're being outrun. You're being out-muscled. You're not winning first headers. You're not winning second ball. It was garbage by Arsenal. If they go with that mentality in the second game, it will be absolutely over. It will be over. Arsenal need to show a little bit of balls in the second game. And maybe Arteta can do it, to be honest with you. Like we have seen Arsenal put in a defensive masterclass. It wasn't a defensive masterclass, to be honest.
Yeah.
Martin Odegaard needs to pick up the leadership as well.
We're going to come on to Odegaard in a minute. It's a slightly separate talking point. I'm doubling down on what I said last night. Sometimes what you feel in an instant match reaction can change 24, 48 hours later by listening to other people, rewatching things. I stand by it. I think Arteta got the tactics wrong to begin with. You saw Declan Rice with the war cry of, if we don't have the ball, we die. And I think they went out the wrong way. And they went out and they pressed like maniacs. And they pressed in the right way. But I think they lacked a little bit of respect for the speed and passing ability of this PSG team. When they found Dembele in the middle, it's because Rice was following the manager's instructions to press in that way. Then they're playing catch-up. The ball goes out to Kvaratskhelia. Rice then makes another mistake. He shouldn't leave his position. I know that, again, I would love to ask the manager this question. were the DMs or were the central midfielders told at every opportunity, come in and help the fullback with one of the wingers? If they were, then you can argue Declan Rice is just following instructions. However, Declan Rice has got to read the room because he looks over his shoulder. He sees that Dembele's by himself. No one else is there. He leaves that position. If he stays there, maybe Kvaratskhelia takes on Timber and buries it into the bottom corner and everybody says, Rice should have come in to help, right? That's a possibility. But he steps out of his position. Moreno and Odegaard don't get back and they go a goal down. Then for me, where I was disappointed as a football fan was the energy got sapped out of that ground. The fans gave up for a period of time. And I know that some people find it a little bit offensive to sort of, you can't tell other fans how to behave. I'm not telling you how to behave. I'm telling you I think it hurt your team. Arsenal couldn't get to grips with PSG. And it wasn't until, it took me back to 1999. And I remember we were 2-0 down against Juve away from home. And we were looking awful. We started that second leg in the semi-final terribly. And my brothers were giving me shit because they're Liverpool and Arsenal fans. They're all on me. And I'm sitting there like, oh no, we're in trouble here. We're going to go out again in another semi. And Schmeichel, and actually this is the sad, other than the Man United cassette tape I had that I got for Christmas, even when you watch the feature-length replays that TNT Sports now put out of those games, they leave maybe the most important part of the game out. There was this save from Schmeichel. And I remember my dad saying, that could spark United on here. He says sometimes all it takes is a tackle or a save or a good shot, gives you a little bit of belief. And that's what Arsenal did last night. A few good tackles went in, crowd got up, and then the second half of the first half, they created their chances, there was opportunities to score. And I think halftime came at the wrong time, if that made sense. They were knocking on the door. They started the second half really well. And then Arteta's next mistake came in. He made no substitutions, made none. And the legs went. And then after that point is where Arsenal, that's the only time in the game where I think Arsenal got lucky, was when their legs went, because they worked really hard. They could have made it 2 and 3-0 at that point. Now, I get a lot of Arsenal fans are saying, but we could have been 2-1 up. Yes, but I'm talking about in that moment, you were 1-0 down. Facts. The manager didn't make any changes, and you look leggy. And it was fortunate that it was Barcola and Ramos that went through on goal and not the other players. So Arsenal was still in this tie. And I know that Arsenal fans look at that game. And by the way, I thought Declan Rice actually had a very good game overall yesterday. I think that Lee Judges is right, that they should have made a change, maybe at halftime, maybe 60 minutes, and put Lewis Skelly straight into the midfield, brought on Timber at left back, giving that midfield some more energy. I think their front line looked a little bit discombobulated without Moreno in that role. I think he brings the other two in well. They could have made those changes. They didn't. Maybe they'll learn from that. Are they out? No. Can they win and win the tie? Yes. I've heard a few Arsenal fans say yesterday, and I kind of agreed with them at the time, and I've changed my mind now. It's going to be miraculous for us to turn it around. Overturning a 1-0 deficit in the second leg of a semi-final isn't miraculous. It's difficult, but you're not talking about being 2-3, 4-0 down, and you've got to create one of the biggest comebacks of all time. You've just got to win the game, essentially, and you've got a great chance of going through. And Arsenal do have the capabilities to beat this PSG team. But for me, what they did from the 30th minute to about the 65th minute needs to be the whole game. Compact, hard to break down, no crazy pressing, and wait. Because what PSG did, they did it against Villa and they did it against Liverpool. But both teams, when they punished Liverpool and they punished Villa and they punished Arsenal last night, was when you get a little bit too confident, press a little too hard, and they fall in the space. If you sit and absorb a little bit and wait for them to misplace a pass, which they do, because all teams do, and then you spring onto the attack, you've got a chance. The element, though, that I was really disappointed with when it came to Arsenal, and I know there'll be a few people who say, how can you be disappointed? You're a rival. It's a good thing. I'm talking here as a football fan, not as a rival for a moment. It's the amount of Arsenal fans. And ironically, it's a lot of the guys that say the team has a bad mentality going, it's over. No point turning up. It's finished now. It's done. No point. No,
it's definitely not over, guys.
It's
Even
crazy.
if you're going away. Let me just say this before I do have to go. I told Terry already. Here's the thing, bro, with this conversation. I just think you cannot give up as an Arsenal fan. I'm not even trying to be an asshole. Like, I'm actually being genuinely serious. 1-0 down is not the end of the world. Whether you're going away, whether you're playing at home, it's 1-0. No, don't do this either, Jordan, because now you're coping. Don't be in the middle. Don't cope and don't do too much. Do not give up because it's just a 1-0. No, because you cannot say being 1-0 down is suits us and is good for us. No, you would rather be 1-0 up, of course. So what I'm saying is, listen, Arsenal can come back. 1-0 deficit is not that bad at all. I think it's 100% possible. You're gonna have Thomas Partey in the second game. I don't think you should give up at all. PSG have been susceptible to goals. You even had your chances. You just need to be a lot more clinical. And Dem's right. If you don't care, there is 4,000 people who watch me weekly on the football terrace that care, and Terry pays me to be here. So a lot of people care. So big up to you. Thank you so much. I'm the longest lasting survivor of straight facts. You get me, one of the people from 3 years ago when I was one person on the screen. So you might not care. Big up to you though. Big up, guys. I'm gonna go ahead after.
Yeah. Me and Mo are going to continue this. Cheers to Sam. There's a comment here from Paul that says, "Nonsense, Terry. Arteta knew his team would struggle and didn't want to risk losing more goals." I mean, then you agree with me. The team adjusted, stopped leaking the opportunities, and had its own opportunities to score. That isn't a manager panicking. That isn't a manager not being able to change his tactics. That is not a negative from Arsenal's point of view. This is what's crazy in your analysis here, Paul. And I know you're going to say this is glazing Arsenal, but this is just being fair. You can't start a game as bad as Arsenal did, concede a goal, nearly concede a second, barely touch the ball, and not create a goal-scoring opportunity. We can't then see a team change, create goal-scoring opportunities, and not leak chances and say, nah, that's just because Arteta knew they were struggling and he didn't want to risk losing more goals. That's quite like your analysis is almost like you're slagging them off for changing mid-game and becoming better. Where I can then criticize, where I think you're missing, and this is what's crazy about, I just think in the pursuit of trying to shit on Arsenal, you're actually missing the areas to criticize them in. Where Arteta needs criticism is making them starting off pressing like crazy in the beginning. It's why if Villa hadn't pressed like crazy in the first half of the game at Villa Park, they wouldn't have conceded those 2 goals. It's because they went for it and they left all the space in behind. It was stupid. That's the criticism for Arteta. Not making the subs early enough. That's the criticism for Arteta. How are you here, Paul, criticizing him for the one tactical change he made in the game that nearly got them back into it? I can't blame Arteta for Martinelli and Trossard missing chances. That is not on Arteta, in my personal opinion. So listen, you can call it out all you want and say it's nonsense.